Now, what about this guy's a little polarizing? A&M, Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher. They're loving the momentum down there. The Aggies just got the number one recruiting class, but that's not something that you're factoring in necessarily on the coaching grades. It's all about how they do on the field. They beat Alabama, yet they lose to both the Mississippi schools. They lose to Arkansas. What do you make of Jimbo Fisher, and what's his overall grade? Because I think people are surprised that he's often not higher, but maybe he hasn't earned that higher grade just yet.
No, it was kind of a disappointing year from our grading end on him. We had him as a C-minus year. That win over Alabama really saved him. Otherwise, he'd been in the D range for this year. Um, I mean, you read off the results yourself there. You can't lose to both the Mississippi schools. You can't lose to LSU, who was outmanned. You can't lose to Arkansas, and then beat Alabama, and to have all the previous expectations that they had. I mean, this
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be the year A&M, challenged for the division, and instead they were out of it by the fifth or sixth week, right?
Right.
you know, so that can't be something that they're he wins the off season. He really wins the off season, but until he can start winning consistently against the teams that he's supposed to beat week in and week out, I think that 9-3, 10-2 is kind of going to be the mode there in College Station.
Now, how big of a hit potentially did the Aggies take losing Mike Elko? He's now the head coach of Duke. I know your model loved Mike Elko as a defensive coordinator. Now they've hired DJ Durkin. Is that a downgrade, or is that about a fair trade there? What do you think?
Oh, that's a big downgrade in our grade book. Mike Elko, he was one of the coming from Wake Forest to Notre Dame to Texas A&M, he was one of the more steady defensive performers. He had an excellent year at Texas A&M this year. He's the reason they won some of those games. I think he had a top. He looked here really fast. I think he had a top 15 defense this year.
Mm-hmm.
He was number three. He
Oh,
had the third best defense in the country this year in per play efficiency. So that's a big loss. That you don't just step in and replace that. DJ Durkin is a above average defensive coordinator, but he's not to the same level as Mike Elko is. You're not going to be able to lean on DJ Durkin's defense and have him win you games when your offense sputters like it did this year. That's not the type of defensive coordinator he is. He's going to hold the other team at bay, but you better get your offense going, or you're going to lose some games.